The new girl arrived on a Monday, the kind of gray, forgettable morning where no one expects anything to change, and yet everything did. Her name was Isla, though almost no one bothered to learn it. She walked into the classroom with her head lowered, shoulders slightly hunched, clutching a worn backpack to her chest as if it were armor. She was thin, too thin, with eyes that looked like they had already seen too much for someone her age. The teacher introduced her in a cheerful voice, but the room barely listened. A few kids glanced up, assessed her in seconds, and dismissed her just as quickly. New. Quiet. Weak. Those three unspoken labels followed her to the empty desk at the back of the room. Isla sat down silently, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the chipped edge of the desk, praying, though she didn't know to whom, that she could become invisible. She had learned, from experience, that being noticed was dangerous. At her old school, being noticed had ended in bruises hidden under long sleeves and nights spent crying into a pillow so her mother wouldn't hear. She thought this place might be different. She was wrong. By lunchtime, the whispers had already started. Kids noticed the way she flinched when someone laughed too loudly, the way she ate slowly, carefully, as if every movement required permission. 3 girls sat across the cafeteria from her, watching. They were inseparable: Mara, Jade, and Lena, the kind of girls who ruled their social circle through fear masked as confidence. They didn't need a reason. They only needed a target. Mara was the first to smile, a slow, cruel curve of her lips as she leaned toward the others and murmured something that made them snicker. Isla felt it before she saw it, that heavy, crawling sensation of being watched. She kept her eyes down, fingers tightening around her plastic fork. Maybe, she hoped, if she didn't react, they'd lose interest. That hope shattered when Jade stood up and deliberately bumped Isla's tray, sending her food sliding onto the floor. The cafeteria went quiet for a split second, then erupted in laughter. Isla froze, heat flooding her face. "Oops," Jade said sweetly, tilting her head. "Guess you should watch where you're going." Isla whispered an apology, though she didn't know why she was the one saying it. That only made the laughter louder. From that moment on, it became routine. Every day brought something new: notes stuffed into her locker calling her a freak, gum tangled in her hair, whispers of rumors she'd never heard but somehow everyone believed. Teachers missed it, or maybe chose to. Isla learned to move through the halls like a ghost, memorizing which stairwells were safest, which bathrooms were least likely to be occupied. She told herself she could survive this. She always had. What she didn't know was that Mara and her friends were growing bored. And bored bullies always escalate. The day it happened was after gym class. Isla had stayed late, pretending to tie her shoe, waiting for the locker room to empty. She thought she was alone when she slipped into the hallway, but footsteps echoed behind her. She quickened her pace, heart hammering, but it was too late. A hand shoved her hard between the shoulder blades, sending her crashing into the lockers. Pain exploded through her chest as the air left her lungs in a sharp gasp. "Running already?" Mara's voice purred near her ear. Jade and Lena flanked her, blocking the hall. Isla shook her head, trying to speak, but no sound came out. Panic clawed its way up her throat. She tried to push past them. That was when Jade's arm wrapped around her neck. It happened fast and slow all at once. Isla felt pressure, crushing, relentless. Her feet scrabbled uselessly against the floor as her vision blurred. She tried to scream, but only a strangled sound escaped. The world narrowed to the pounding in her ears, to the burning need for air. Laughter echoed around her, distorted and distant. Someone said, "Relax, drama queen." Someone else said, "She's turning red." Isla's hands beat weakly against Jade's arm, then slower, then not at all. Her body sagged, strength draining away as darkness crept in from the edges of her sight. The last thing she felt was her cheek hitting the cold tile floor. 5 minutes later, the bell rang. Students flooded the halls. Someone screamed. A teacher ran. Paramedics came. Isla was taken away on a stretcher, unconscious, an oxygen mask over her face. Mara, Jade, and Lena stood to the side, pale now, insisting it was a joke, that they didn't mean it. No one listened. The school buzzed with shock, with fear, with the sudden realization that this wasn't harmless teasing anymore. It was violence. And while administrators scrambled to control the damage, far away in a small apartment across town, Isla's mother was answering a phone call that would change everything. Her name was Elena. She listened in silence as the principal spoke, his voice tight and rehearsed. Her hand trembled, but her voice didn't. She asked exactly where her daughter was. She asked exactly what had happened. And when the call ended, Elena stood very still in the middle of her living room. For a long moment, she didn't cry. Instead, something colder settled into her bones, an old, familiar resolve she had hoped never to use again. She picked up her keys, grabbed her coat, and walked out the door with one thought burning in her mind: no one gets away with hurting my child.